Hey, soy Isra García. Bienvenido a Disrupt Everything Podcast Series. Reinventarse a uno mismo, de todas las formas posibles. Utilizar ese 1% que marca la diferencia, enmarcar la diferencia y cambiarlo todo. Experimentar, intentar diferente, prototipar, despuntar, sobresalir de uno mismo y hacer accesible lo inaccesible. Hacer en la práctica lo que en la teoría parecía imposible. Destrozar perfecto y habilitar imposible. En este podcast encontrarás superhábitos, habilidades, núcleo, ultraproductividad, la calibración, optimización y sincronización de las 4 dimensiones del potencial humano: física, emocional, intelectual y espiritual. Entrevistas a los más grandes disruptores que he podido encontrar, que conozco y a los que puedo acceder. Grandes líderes de la talla de Robin Sharma, de la talla de Seth Godin, y personas completamente fuera del molde, fuera de la caja. Espero que lo disfrutes y que resuene contigo, que lo utilices, que lo aproveches, que lo maximices y que te suscribas, le des a la campana para que cuando haya nuevos episodios te notifiquen, que le des un like para poder alcanzar a más personas. Y cualquier duda, pregunta, petición, invitado, lo que sea, espero tu comentario porque lo vamos a tener muy en cuenta y tan pronto como pueda responderé. Gracias por tú, gracias por sobresalir y gracias por encontrar el riesgo antes de que el riesgo te encuentre a ti. Vamos a ello.
Bienvenidos a Disrupt Everything, podcast series by Isra García. Reinvéntate a ti mismo y cambia lo que más te importa.
Hello, this is, it's in English, not in Spanish as usual. This is Disrupt Everything podcast series. I'm your host, Isra García, and you know that every time it's in English is because something is special, right? This is, for me, one of the special ones. For, if I can say, the special one, because my guest is somebody that has inspired me over the years. When I started in social media, it was the first person I followed, and over the years, it's been the best and the first person I followed, together with Seth Godin, to be honest. And so you can imagine what's my pleasure to introduce and interview the special one, my special guest, Chris Brogan. Chris, thank you for being here.
It is very much my honor, and thank you for allowing this to be in English. Mi español está muy mala.
No, thank you, Chris, for being in my podcast, in Disrupt Everything podcast series, as a podcast for reinvention, for lifestyle redesign, for changing the things that matters, for just going deep and changing first ourselves and then the things we are around us. For those that don't know who Chris Brogan is, let me tell you a bit of background about Chris Brogan. Chris Brogan is CEO of Honor Media, where he provides skills to the modern entrepreneurs. He's also one of the really well-known speaker, professional speaker, and he's a New York Times bestselling author of 9 books and counting. As I said, Chris Brogan provides strategy and skills for the modern business all over the world. And he's CEO, he's been CEO for another businesses, and now from Honor Media Group, as I said. Chris Brogan has a podcast, has 2 podcasts, has a current blog, has a newsletter which I'm subscribed and since I don't know, since probably 2010 when I started, no, 2009 when I started getting the post from his blog, and he's working in his 10th book, book number 10, which is Make Your Own Game, right, Chris?
Well, I changed the book a little bit.
Oh,
I wanted to write a book about how business people could learn about business from video games, but I read a very big survey by some very important company with about 140 CEOs from big companies, and 1% said they were gamers, 9% said sometimes they play video games. And so I thought, what a terrible idea to try to write a book that 90% of people either said no or hell no,
wow.
They didn't like video games. So I am now writing a book about a very different approach, but the same ideas would relate, meaning what I want to cover, I just use different analogies and it will be okay.
Can we ask you what is changing and what the final title is or what it's about?
Yes. You might be only the second people I've told this to. So
I'm really excited.
In 2009, when you and I started to become friends, I wrote a book with Julian Smith called Trust Agents. And now for either 2018 or maybe 2019, if I'm too lazy, I don't know yet. I'm writing a book called Building Agents of Trust. No Julian this time because he's a grown-up and he's very busy now. But it's called Building Agents of Trust. And in the first book, we talked about how people could use the web to connect and be more human with other people. In this book, it is how do we use some of these new technologies like artificial intelligence and chatbots and IoT. How do we use this to make and extend relationships? So the first one was how humans maybe can't be like robots. The second is how robots maybe can help us be more human.
Wow. Here you have, listeners, you have a premiere from Chris Brogan. I'm really excited that you were talking about the book, and I was thinking, can I buy it right now?
Not yet, but my new podcast, I guess, is kind of sketch notes for the book.
Yeah, the brand, making the brand, right?
Yes, making the brand is where I've been secretly asking all the questions I need to ask to write a book like this.
Wow, Chris, I can say, we say I've grown seeing you grow. What are the most significant or significant and challenge and life challenge or life changing moments in your life? What has been? What has been?
In my whole life, learning somewhere in my late 30s that maybe I didn't have to be just one employee at one desk if I didn't want, and finding that there were other paths. That was pretty significant. Finding that even though I sometimes deal with a very mild depression, that it doesn't have to impact my life, and that I can make my life work around a depression. That's significant.
That's thrilling.
Having children is significant because I really felt like I could live my life my way. But children tell you, there's that saying that says, man plans and God laughs. I think children are the best example of that.
Yeah.
And so I very significantly changed my life. In 2010, I did 106 speeches all over the world, one every 3 days almost. And I was not seeing my kids very much. And it led to a divorce that was rather unfortunate. But it also made me change my life and decide that I wanted to be home with my kids more. So I see them now maybe 1/3 of every month, most every weekend, and then some extra time. And so That's significant. And then professionally, because this all ties together for me, I've worked with very big companies and then very small companies. And now I'm talking more to big companies again, but trying really hard to show small companies their part in this relationship and how they can participate. So I'm trying to thread it all together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you created, as you said, a great intersection between humanity, business, and marketing. What's the secret sauce?
The secret really, and I always love to joke about secrets because to me they're all fake. You know, we all know them, we just don't believe them yet. The secret sauce is like the opposite of Santa Claus, right? When you know you get to a certain age, someone tells you about Santa Claus and then you feel sad. The secret is that everything you thought might be better, but it sounds kind of weird, that's the right thing to do. So the secret sauce is treat people more like humans. The sauce is that maybe there's not a mathematical equation to reach the person you're hoping to sell. Maybe the best way that you can treat your customers is the way you'd treat your mom. And that there's a lot of real business opportunity in actually being nice to the people who give you money. And so that's what I've taught for, I don't know, almost 20 years now in different ways, that if we can use this tech to drive better human interactions instead of easier human interactions, then we have a chance at success.
That will be one of the topics you cover on Making the Brand podcast, right?
Yes. And I cover that as often as I can, really. If you look at a distance and you don't pay much attention, because who would? I'm just one person. But if you look from afar, you say, oh, Chris, he loves social media. Oh, no, now he doesn't. Oh, Chris, he loves this. Oh, no, now he doesn't. I don't care what tool we use. Yeah. The same thing is, how do we reach people and drive some better connection? As long as we remain
human, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it with the escape velocity, with Human Business Works. All the businesses you launched were in the middle, in the center, were the people. So that's what you say in the secret sauce.
Yes, and I think that there's that saying that if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I think that is true about my ideas about business. My ideas always have humans. They always have communication. But what happens is the world gets excited about different technology. Exactly. They run away. They try to come up with ways to automate and make it better. But then they always come back to me to say, it's not really working. People don't feel connected to us. Now what do we do? And that's my secret to my business is that repeatedly people make the mistake of thinking that they need to use the tools and not connect with the people.
Exactly. That was the main point also for writing my first book, the one you wrote the foreword to be exactly human media, and it's just because the internet is the people. It's not the tools are the people, not on the contrary, right?
Exactly, and that's I think why we've had a friendship for almost 10 years, because I just see you doing that kind of work as well, and yo no hablo castellano español muy bien, so you get to have that market very well. And so you can take the word to your friends there.
I'm sure I've done over the years. I'm always saying that I've learned the most significant way of human interactions thanks to you, because can you imagine if the first person I've just met in the website will be some of the marketers that are talking just about the tools? I'm sure I will be missing a lot of things that now I have, and I'm thankful. So I'm thankful to you too. So how did you get into these human interactions? What's your passion to do this kind of just human one-to-one work that you do?
I think that Well, and funny, I'll make one small correction. I very much like human one-to-many kind of work.
One-to-many.
But because I like one-to-many that feels like one-to-one.
Wow.
Do you know?
Yeah.
The reason I make that distinction is because we can't really afford to do one-to-one. That's the old days with salesman and his suitcase, full of supplies. But now we can do one-to-many. But what got me there originally was customer service. So I worked for the telephone company back when there was only the one telephone company in the U.S. And I spoke to people all day on phones at call centers. And I believed that companies did not really value their customer service department. They saw it as an expense. And I always thought there must be some really good revenue opportunity here inside a call center. And I think that was probably my first template, that and figuring out blogging, that kind of pushed me into the space that I'm in.
And so serving people through the value you can provide them.
I guess I think my early interactions were like anyone's, I guess, just kind of testing to see if the microphone was on and trying to share all about me. And then when I learned how to write all about you, everyone to you,
everything changes.
I think it made all business better right from then on.
That's it. And Chris, you work a lot with business owners. So I'm a business owner and I need tools for a better time management or a better productivity, as all of them say. And at the same time, I want to create results for my business. What would be your recommendation?
This is very much like asking the man who sells encyclopedias, do you think I need an encyclopedia? The answer is yes. We have, this sounds like a plug, but it's my answer. We have a very simple course that we call the 20-minute plan jumpstart.
That's it.
And the idea is that if you can find 9 little spots for 20 minutes each day, so 9 times 20 is, 9 blocks of 20 is like 3 hours worth of time. If I can help you find 3 hours of time every day to improve your business, even if the 20 minutes aren't connected, some in the morning, some while the child is sleeping, or some when you have to go to your other job, whatever, those 3 hours done well can improve everything in your business. And that's what I've been selling for years, because that's how I build my business. Except that in my case, I just want as much free time as I possibly can have. And so my 3 hours of working on my business allows me just a few hours of having to do the parts no one wants to do.
And Chris, you're a designer in your life. You designed your life, and you did really well, because I've seen over the years how much time you put on exercise, or on disconnecting, on working.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because I think you are a master of lifestyle design. Where we can start, or how we can start designing our life for the better?
I want to tell you again, by the way, you have such a great command of English. It reminds me all the time how dumb all Americans are.
To be honest, I'm always saying that I talk rusty English. No English
rusty.
At all, but it's kind of rusty. So thank you.
No, it's great. So I hesitate to call myself a lifestyle designer, because if you notice, there's almost no pictures of my feet at a beach, and there's almost no pictures of me with my new Lamborghini next to my old Lamborghini.
But I guess you and I talk lifestyle design in another way.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, very true.
Exactly.
We talk like,
living better, being the owner of your own time. So that's the way you do really well.
Yes. So in my 7th or 8th book, which was called The Freaks Shall Inherit the Earth.
I love that book.
Thank you. It's my favorite because I wrote it for my children.
So I can tell you
I have a definition. I have a whole chapter about defining success. And it's different for everyone. And that's the important part of the chapter, that, you have to really define what you call success. And to me, success is just one very simple thing: being able to say no to the things I don't want to do. That's it. That's success for me. Meaning, I don't have to say yes to this project because I have enough money that if I say no, I can keep doing my job, the one I want to do. So that to me is the ultimate way to design your life.
Nice.
Is if you can work the projects you want to work and work with the people you want to serve and deliver the product that you think will best serve them with the kind of hours you most wish. That's the formula. And, people say, oh, I've seen you speak all over the world. I want to be a world speaker. I say, you do until you do it. And then you find that the quote unquote, if I went to Spain to speak for you, you decide to put on a conference, you give me a big bag of money, I fly there. Do you know what the experience would be like? I would come to the hotel. The next morning, I might go to the event breakfast. I would spend my day as much as I could with the attendees of your event. I would speak, and then I would probably have to get on a plane either that night or the next day. I would never see any good parts of Spain. I would see nothing. No, I don't like museums, but I would not get to see old places. I wouldn't get a nice tapas experience.
Paella, tapas, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what people think I do when I travel. They think I'm at the beach. I've got the drinks. I'm in the same hotel room, just in a different postal code. But that's it. And it's me, the stage, the people, and sometimes a nice meal with a friend. But that's it. And I can tell you that it gets old fast. Hotels get old fast. You don't really can't wait to get to my hotel room. That no one says that. And so I designed a life that doesn't do that as much. And some days, Isra, I am definitely jealous. I'll see some friend, I'll see them, hanging out in, I don't know, Tokyo, and I'll say, I want to go there. But that's okay. I'll make that happen one day.
For sure. So in this lifestyle design, what's the day of Chris Brogan's? What's a day on Chris Brogan's life?
As many video games as I can play. Is that a good answer? I have such a variety. Everyone says that, especially on this show. But I do a lot of writing no matter what. So my business is writing. I'm working on a book. So 2,000 to 3,000 words every day on that book. I'm writing a sponsored blog post for a small business company that sponsored a post on my website. I'm making a video of a course that I launched a little while ago. So I have to make the next module for the course. I had a client call a little bit earlier, and I have a client discovery call a little bit later to see if I might have a new client. And I'm going to send lots and lots of emails to people saying, hey, boy, give me some money. Money would be great. We should work together. And the stuff that no one likes to talk about, the hard work part where you ask for sales and when you try to get on phone calls and make people give you their credit card. And that's what's in my day.
That's the less sexy part, but the needed one. I can tell to every listener who is in this podcast that Chris reply I can say all his emails. This is for me is staying human. Sometimes the pace of life makes you forget where you come from. But the thing is, since I've met you. Not just for me and other people that just told me the same comment. I mean, no, Chris Brogan just answer me. I say, yes, he's answering, And this is another thing about staying human. And Chris, do you have any super special routine every day?
No, I'll tell you, I don't like routine. I think what happens, it's taken me a long time to realize this. Do you know, sometimes you think maybe you're developing something or you're working on something or you're trying to adopt something. And then one day you say, I'm 47 years old. I will be 48 years old. I don't do that, it turns out. So one of them is routine. And one reason I don't have a routine very much anymore is not because lazy, because I do many things. It's because I think that routines make my mind shut off, and I want my mind on. So I need to not try to do repetitive things, because if repetition to me in routines can be an enemy. I think repetition is great in business, meaning can I repeat a performance? If someone expects a certain thing from me, can I give that to them every time? Yes. But drive to work the same way, eat the same breakfast, wear the same clothes, I think that's all a bad plan. With clothes, by the way, it's not that I plan anything. I have a box full of shirts, a box full of pants, socks and underwear. And I reach into each box and I have it done. That's how I do it. But that's those little pieces are as close as I get to a routine. I put my keys in the same place, so I don't lose my keys. But other than that, I want routine, my brain free.
Yeah, that's a completely different concept that we've been taught because. Yes. We say the routines, for me, you challenged my mind right now because, and it's good, and I'm thankful for that, because it just opened a new paradigm for me, because I'm following routines and to be more efficient, for me, more effective. But what is the payoff? What is the cost of doing this?
Yeah. So another way to think of that is, what if we used routines for love? What if, that person we love, that man, that woman we love, we come to them and we touch their cheek and we say, I love you so much. Come with me to the bedroom. That'd be sexy the very first time, right?
Fucking amazing.
If I said it 500 times, I touch your cheek, I look in your eyes, I love you so much, come with me to the bedroom. We do everything in the same order, first the left, then the right, whatever, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
And so I think that just like romance, the excitement, no matter how married you are, of catching the attention of someone and flirting, we should flirt with our life. And to me, that means really not saying the same thing, not trying a pickup line, but being alive with our life.
Wow. Yeah. It is a really challenging assumption, because we've been told so the contrary. And thank you for that take on. It's really, really, really powerful. Chris, and in your, how did you see this high performance? Because you kind of work on helping people in some ways. How do you see high performance for ordinary people? What practices are working for you, Chris, for being physically, mentally, being on the right track?
That's a very good question. I feel that I'm low performance. I mean, I wonder if that's a category. I think that, people who are struggling and striving to attain that, I think it's because we have models for that, right? We do it because, I don't know, we see Gary and we say, oh, look at Gary. He's very exciting. He's doing these things. And we say, maybe that's how we should be. Oof. But I think that when we only kind of understand, the word I can only use is called construct, meaning like a model. We only understand the model that we see. And so if we're never presented with a different model, then we don't really get a chance to try anything new. And so I feel that instead of maybe looking to be the fastest something, instead of trying to be the first something, what can we fix in incremental ways? Or what can we do different in some smaller way that someone else is not doing? The problems that I'm looking to solve now with things like artificial intelligence and with chatbots and with Internet of Things, some of them are very small problems, but they amount to revenue, great amounts of revenue, if I can solve it in a way that competitors are not. So maybe, instead of thinking, how do I do something fast, where's an improvement that either improves velocity, for the customer, they get something faster, that removes friction, makes it easier for the customer to do something, or that maybe even just gives connectedness, which makes the customer feel like they're part of something bigger than just that moment. And that's kind of where I put my focus. In my life, like if I want to get better at a sport, I used to try to follow very specific routines. Now, what I do instead is I try to mix everything. And I say, today I will do classic weightlifting, the very basic 3 lifts. And then tomorrow I might do kettlebell because that's different, But I think that I don't think we need to be novel for novel's sake. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, eat at a different restaurant every day. But I am saying routine is the enemy. And if that is true, then what? That's the question listeners have to answer for themselves, right? If routine is a bad idea, what should we do instead?
I love that one. And so when you get into the customer, I saw your 2 podcasts, Owner Mindset podcast and then Make the Brand podcast. What are you learning in each of them? Because as much as you gave, or as much as you shared knowledge and utility and value to others, what are you learning from each of them?
So podcasts are the best opportunity in the world to become a bandit, a robber, a thief. A podcast allows me to steal knowledge and information and wisdom from other people and make connections. So I should tell you that I canceled The Owner's Mind. We stopped making it because that show has run its course. I did 112 episodes or so. So in Making the Brand, I interview people from IBM and Honeywell and Stanley Black & Decker. And I'll have someone from Microsoft very soon.
You have more of the brightest people in the owner's mindset too.
Yes. And so what I learn from these people is, I'll ask questions that I need to know anyway. I stole this idea because, again, we're going to be thieves now. I stole this idea from Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins in 2009, I guess it was, flew me to his house just to pick my brain. But Tony did it on video.
For the internet course, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to make a course called Internet Money Masters. And I was like, oh, okay. And so he made this course, and I came and gave him everything I knew for free, and he made hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I thought that was so smart. So I took his idea, and now I ask people on my podcast for ideas, advice, and I also ask them. I steal from my readers and listeners as best I can as well. And so I say, pretend I'm a medium-sized company. Maybe I'm a moving company with 5 trucks. How do I learn about this blockchain stuff so that I can compete with DHL or someone? How do I do that? And so that's what I like to bring, because I feel like if I can deliver a really quality idea to someone who's participating in my show, it makes the company person seem smart because, of course, they've just shared a good idea. But it makes the person I'm serving seem smart because they can use that idea and make their business better.
And there you are taking this knowledge and providing this knowledge in a chunks in your blog and also in your workshops, because you do powerful workshops. What is the most powerful workshop you have, and why?
I have, maybe I want to answer everything. The 20-minute plan one that I mentioned at the beginning, that's one of my favorites, very specifically because it's teaching how to use your time in a better way and how to remove excuses. How do you stop making excuses for your business? And so I think that if there's one thing I can do to help other people, it's I can help them not make so many excuses.
And Chris, what do you think that makes the projects you work on yours and unique? That is, what is your signature in this?
I love your question. The answer for me is that just very, very humanistic. I try to make it so that a real person obviously spoke with you like a real person would. It would be the same as you and I and some espresso, or maybe a nice beer later. We would talk. I would give you ideas. You would have your notebook, and when you're done, you would go home and make that into money for your business. And so that's how I deliver mine. Mine are made to feel as close as I can, like we're just talking across the table, even though there's a screen between us. And that's I guess it.
Yeah, there's you feeling closer with the people you are working with.
Yeah, and my idea is, I mean, I know this might be hard for your listeners, especially because English is not their primary language, but the phrases I use, or the choices of words and how I build my sentences is different than my friends, and it's as unique as I can make it, but also as familiar as I can make it to your thoughts. And so I try to deliver that way so that the information sticks in your head better.
Because it's different and because it's unique. This is why your blog is kind of different to the other blogs, and it sticks to a lot of people, that I can say, as an audience.
I try. It used to be that they would love to steal and copy from me more, but now I'm an old man, so now they steal from other people, I guess. It's good.
Chris, what's the habit that have helped you the most?
Oh, I love that question. Very rare do you hear me not answer quickly, right?
Yeah.
I love that question. My best answer is a long time ago I learned, and I can tell you, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm stuttering so much. I learned this better from my son. So my son, who's 12 now, has autism, and very highly functional, though. Some people with autism, they can't communicate at all. But communication and interface is the core set of problems that people with autism deal with. And so what I learned from my son is when he was much younger, he had a bunch of speech impediments. His speech wasn't very clear. He lisped a little bit. And so he knew what he wanted to say, but sometimes people didn't comprehend what he was saying to them. And one thing he taught me, and this is the heart of my habits, my favorite habit, is that my son learned how to ask for something in more than one way. So if he wanted a pencil, but he couldn't say pencil well enough that the person understood, he would be smart, even as a little kid, to say, I want that thing you write with. And they would say, oh, like a pencil? And he'd say, yes. Now, he said it the first time, they just didn't understand his word. And he learned to say it a different way until they understood, not just heard. And to me, that is what I do as much as I can, is I try to be understood, and I try to help others understand, because there's so many people just talking. And I think that makes me different. And I think that's a good habit, is to practice helping people understand.
And it's you need to listen, really listen, and then you need to learn how to see the world differently. And it requires a lot of awareness. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, awareness and language and empathy too, right? Because
lots of empathy.
Sometimes our words are the enemy. Sometimes our words are what confuse someone. If I say, I said that I want us to be bandits and thieves, when we get information, right? Uh-huh. Someone may be very virtuous and they might say, I'm no bandit, I'm no thief, I'm a very virtuous man. I get people who come to my website or to my newsletter. I have a lot of friends who are very religious. And so they'll send their religious friends to me saying, oh, Chris has this wisdom you might like. And then I will cuss or say something that maybe upsets a religious person. And of course, I'll have to get the letter that makes them very upset. And so in those moments, I have opportunity, because I can say either, well, that's how I talk, enjoy it or leave. And some days I do that because I'm mad or, I feel too important. And then other days I say, what if you could learn something, whether or not the words were useful or the same words you would use? And sometimes that helps them realize something. And so it's a very long answer to say that I think that when you help people understand and when you learn to understand them, so I curse less now, for instance, because I don't want to spend my time apologizing for cursing. I want people to actually get the impact of my words. And so if I don't, swear every 3 words, then maybe I can spend more time.
Quicker.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah. And, I did an experiment that was 20 days. It's like doing a Vipassana meditation, but in the middle of civilization. And I was 20 days without speaking, but no words, nobody. And I learned so much about what you are saying right now. I mean, you don't need to talk so much. Almost 90% of what you're doing is rubbish, for not saying shit.
Yes.
And yeah, you get to know, because you don't talk, then you listen. So you start developing empathy. I need at least 1 month every year for learning. So I will get.
So Israel, do you not speak at all, or you only can speak after you've listened?
Not to speak at all during 20 days. It was in 2016 in August. I did it for 20 days, not talking with anyone. And even with my girlfriend by back then, my ex-girlfriend right now. So we were on fights. I mean, you understand that it doesn't matter. Words are different than emotions, and with gestures, you learn so much. So, I feel like kind of empathy what you say. Chris, one of the things I felt so resonant with you is your vulnerability and humanity. You've been always really closer, open, transparent, mostly talking about your shit, that shit that usually people don't talk, even with their closer relatives. People don't talk about this shit. But why doing it in public? Can you elaborate on that, Chris?
It's a beautiful question. And
I mean, for me, it's amazing.
Yeah. So I love the question for 2 reasons too. One is cultural. So in Spain, of course, machismo, right? Like, this is not okay in Spain. Men are not supposed to say I have a weakness at all. At least classic machismo,
Yeah.
And so first off, I challenge that. But also the other part that I challenge is that I also think when I talk about things like mental health problems, like I have depression, basically. That's the part we're skipping for someone who's new. I have very simple depression, very mild depression, but it's depression. When I talk about it, I'm never talking about it because I want someone to feel bad. I'm never talking because I want someone to, do something different or whatnot for me. It's just to kind of indicate that's where I am right now in my moment, and so I think that being too sensitive is bad. I think being too macho is bad. I think that communicating your status in a way that people understand what your capabilities are is the important goal. It goes right back to the last question about, I think understanding is so important. And I'll tell you the weird part about communicating, one way that I learned about this more, or one model or reason why I did this, is because I pay attention to and I interview a lot of military special forces. And so with the military, the special forces type units, they have to operate at a very high level. And they have to be very open about what they're doing and how they're doing and that sort of a thing. It's not okay to not communicate,
Yeah.
And so
and not doing it in a vulnerable way.
Yeah. And the reason that they have to communicate a lot of times is to say, I'm incapable right now. They might say, I don't have the capacity to handle this right now or something. So it becomes important in that kind of business to say, my leg's broken. I can't defend this person right now, And so I think that that's one of the ways that I learned how to do what I'm doing, is because those special operators, whether or not they want to admit a certain reality at a certain time, it would be damaging to their mission if they didn't.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. And because it seems let's forget the fake let's take the fake and put it on the side, and let's be real, because this is who we are,
Well, yeah, and I don't find any benefit to not explaining it. People say, aren't you worried people don't want to work with you if you deal with depression? And I say, no. If they don't want to work with me after they hear that I deal with depression, I think that's good that we both know.
You. Exactly.
Right? No, not even deserve, but I had a client meeting. It was a prospective client. We did not have business yet. For $180,000 was the ticket for this job. And my kids interrupted the call to ask me a question in the background. And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My daughter has a question." And one person sighed and another person said, "Really?" in the background. And I heard this and I said, "Oh, you know what? I want to thank you for your time today on this call, but I'm not going to be able to work with you. I really love my children, and I love people who love children. And if you have children, I want you to be the kind of parent who would take a moment just to answer a question, because it's only a moment. So I don't think we'll be a good fit. So let's not work together." And I said no to almost $200,000, and I feel so good because I know that I would have a very bad time working with that client.
It's all about principles and values. Without them, we are nothing. As Marcus Aurelius said, we are only flesh and bones.
Right.
Chris, there is just a couple of rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
What's the person you admire the most, and why?
Oh, my dad. He is a very hard worker. He was very good at going to work whether or not he wanted to. He's just a very hardworking man.
He should be proud of you, for sure. What's the most important lesson you ever learned?
Learn from your mistakes and don't spend too much time worrying about them. Just try to figure out what to grow.
If you are opportune to change something about yourself, what will it be?
I would be just a little bit better with my fitness journey, because I forget to care.
You are doing better when I start following you, and since now you improve. Well, I just have to see the amounts of hours you work in the gym, because I was following it. So you were growing and increasing your journey.
I slowed down a little though. So, my answer stands. I wish I were a little bit better at that.
Okay. If you could switch jobs with someone famous, who would you pick?
If I did what with someone famous? I'm so sorry.
If you could, sorry for my accent and my rusty English. I told you. If you could switch jobs with someone famous, who would you pick?
Joss Whedon, the guy directing the Marvel comic movies and the Star Trek and Star Wars.
I love Avengers. Why?
Because you get to play with so many big toys with imagination, right? I mean, multi-million-dollar budget, many actors, convincing them to tell a story that, where the story still matters and dialogue matters. I think it would be so fun to have that many toys.
What's your favorite video game?
It's a shooter game called Rainbow Six Siege, where various special operators from around the world get together to practice.
What's the podcast you love the most?
I have a few answers for this one, I guess. So the one I listen to the most is How I Built This by Guy Raz. I also love the Moth podcast, which is a storytelling podcast. I love Jeff Brown's Read to Lead podcast. And my fiance, Jack, just launched a podcast called Woman Stuff. And I love it just because I'm proud of her.
Thank you. And I'm going to put all recommendations in the show notes and also in the blog post. Chris, what's your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book for business probably would be Ender's Game, which is a science fiction book.
And what happened with the princess?
What happened? What?
With the princess you were ever present. You were present. The question I ever had.
What a great day. I don't know why they invited me. I'll be honest, and I'm not being humble when I say that. So the three people went to this. Alexis Ohanian, who co-founded Reddit, Dom Segola, who was one of the early founders of Twitter, and Chris Brogan, a fat, weird blogger. So, one person helped found Reddit, one person helped found Twitter, and I type. So we went to the United Arab Emirates, and it was Sheikh Zayed something foundation, something. And the princess's name is Sheikha Mariam, and she is the granddaughter of Sheikh Zayed, who founded the United Arab Emirates, UAE, like Dubai and Abu Dhabi and all that. And her dad, I think also called Sheikh Zayed, is worth like 7 Bill Gateses or something. He's doing okay.
Not bad.
And so I presented about technology and that sort of thing with these other two gentlemen. And the first meeting was with the princess and just women, because that's a thing in Muslim culture that sometimes it's more appropriate to have a women-only part of an event. And then to the greater assembly of people who were wanting to learn a little bit about maybe startup culture and that sort of thing. And so it was a great time. I very much enjoyed the time. I learned so much about the culture that I didn't know. And then it's a beautiful place.
Great story. And Chris, if you had to give just one non-requested advice for anyone who is listening this podcast, what would it be, this non-requested advice?
I have the same answer all the time to this question. So, if you were unfortunate enough to listen to 100 podcast interviews with Chris Brogan, which I would never even do, and I love me, I say the same thing always, which is be helpful. And the reason that is my advice is because when we start making mistakes in our life and our business, it's when we are, by mistake, we're worried too much about ourselves and we're focused too much about ourselves. And it's not bad to take some time for you, but I checked, and if I pay myself as my own customer, I don't get as much money because it's only the left pocket and the right pocket. So be helpful, because that's the only way that we make money in this world, is if we help other people do something.
Here you go. Be helpful. This is Chris Brogan in Disrupt Everything podcast series. Chris, thank you for the podcast. Thank you for your books. Thank you for your career. Thank you for helping a lot of people around the way. Thank you for your blog and your podcast and all the things you've been helpful with people like me and a lot of listeners, for sure, that these 40,000 downloads I'm sure a lot of people is following you and listening you and is writing your books, reading your books. So thank you, Chris. Thank you for you.
Well, danke and gracias and obrigado. I'm very, very, very grateful to be of help, and so nice to connect in this way, my friend. After so many years of just talking, at a distance, it's nice to sit down for a moment.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have Chris Brogan? Routine is the enemy. Be helpful. Stay human. Design your life. Say no. And create whatever you want to create. This is Disrupt Everything podcast series, and I'm your host, Isra Garcia, and it was the episode number 33. Can you believe it?
33.
33, sorry.
Oh, 33, yeah.
Yeah. So, here we go. The journey continues, because always continues. Thank you, Chris, and thank you to you too.
Esto ha sido Disrupt Everything by Isra Garcia. Encuentra el riesgo antes de que el riesgo te encuentre a ti.
Hey, gracias por llegar hasta aquí, por escuchar este podcast, ver este vídeo y sumarte a la liga del 1%, esa que marca la diferencia en el 99% restante. Gracias por tú, tal y como eres, tal y como ocurres. Te reto y te incito a que utilices una sola cosa de lo que has escuchado, visto en este podcast para tu vida, para impactar, para servir, para jugar, para practicar, para amar, para vivir, que es para lo que estamos aquí. Trabajar con excelencia, sí. Producir con excelencia, sí. Pero vivir con excelencia. Si esto ha resonado contigo, te espero en los nuevos episodios. Te espero en la Liga del 1%, la comunidad que poco a poco voy a empezar a construir con muchas cosas que no voy a desvelar, pero vas a vivir, tanto presenciales como online, tanto para tu vida, como para tu profesión, como para tu familia, como para tus negocios. Puedes suscribirte abajo en la descripción. Y un favor, voy a pedirte que si escuchas este podcast en YouTube, que vayas a Spotify o Apple Podcast, si utilizas alguno de ellos, te suscribas al podcast y dejes una valoración y una reseña, porque eso nos ayudará a llegar a todavía más personas. Este podcast ha alcanzado más de 6 millones de escuchas y más de 300.000 descargas al mes. Mi trabajo es seguir haciéndolo sin publicidad, sin pretender obtener nada más que esto. Para mí la acción, hacerlo, estar aquí es la propia realización, es el propio resultado, la propia recompensa. El haber impactado a cientos de miles de personas que ya están reinventándose a sí mismas. Si no utilizas ninguna de estas dos plataformas, deja un comentario aquí de qué te ha parecido, de cómo lo has vivido. Es importante porque tú cuentas, porque todo cuenta, porque cada instante es la gran victoria. Cada ser vivo es la gran victoria, cada uno de nosotros, cada movimiento, cada pensamiento, aunque no lo creamos, es la gran victoria de las victorias. Gracias, y vamos a seguir haciendo que las cosas sucedan, bailando con el momento, reinventándonos y utilizando la disrupción positiva para cambiar todo lo que importa. Vamos a ello.